The underestimated fleet. The void of space stretched endlessly before Captain Ilara Voss as she guided the Perseverance through the asteroid belt, marking the edge of human territory. Her vessel wasn't pretty, a patchwork of salvaged parts, repurposed systems, and makeshift repairs. The hull bore the scars of a dozen battles, maintenance patches overlapping like scales, but Voss knew every bolt and weld personally. The Perseverance wasn't just a ship, it was a testament to human adaptability. Captain, unidentified vessel approaching from Vector 227. First Officer Kenji Toshiro reported, his voice steady despite the tension rippling through the bridge. Configuration unknown. Not matching any registered human designs. Voss leaned forward in her command chair. First contact, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make a good impression. She straightened her worn uniform jacket, smoothing out wrinkles that had become permanent features. Open communication channels. Standard greeting protocol. The view screen flickered before resolving into the image of an alien bridge. Sleek, pristine, with flowing ergonomic designs that made the Perseverance's utilitarian layout seem archaic by comparison. At the center stood a tall, slender being with iridescent scales covering pale blue skin. Its eyes, 3 of them, blinked in an unsynchronized pattern. This is Captain Ilara Voss of the Earth Confederation vessel Perseverance. We come in peace and offer greetings on behalf of humanity. The alien's mouth twisted in what she would later recognize as contempt. I am High Commander Zithvar of the glorious Zithari Empire. You have entered territory claimed by our sovereign rule. Its voice came through the translator with an artificial precision. State your purpose immediately. We're on an exploratory mission, High Commander. We were unaware this region was claimed territory. We apologize for any. Apologies are irrelevant, Zithvar interrupted, its central eye narrowing. Your vessel. It appears to be constructed from waste materials. Do all humans traverse space in refuse containers? A ripple of indignation passed through the bridge crew, but Voss maintained her diplomatic composure. Our technology may appear different from yours, but I assure you the Perseverance is a capable vessel. The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't process, something between a hiss and a laugh. Capable. Your propulsion system leaks radiation. Your hull integrity is compromised in 17 locations. Your weapon systems are primitive at best. It gestured to someone off-screen. We shall escort you back to unclaimed space. Your presence offends the aesthetic sensibilities of our patrol fleet. Voss felt her face flush with anger, but kept her voice level. That won't be necessary. We can navigate back. This is not a request, Zithvar snapped. Your antiquated navigation system would likely guide you into a star. 2 escort vessels will ensure you depart without further contaminating our territory. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. They just scanned us completely, Toshiro said, checking his instruments. Penetrating scans, right through our shielding like it wasn't even there. Captain, the weapons officer called out. 2 smaller vessels have detached from the Zithari ship. They're positioning themselves on our flanks. Voss gripped the arms of her chair. Tactical assessment. Their technology outclasses ours in every category, Toshiro replied grimly. Those ships could disable us with minimal effort. Then we accept the escort, Voss decided. For now, plot a course back to Earth space, Lieutenant Quan. We need to report this encounter immediately. As the Perseverance turned under the watchful eyes of the Zithari escorts, Voss couldn't shake the humiliation burning in her chest. The dismissal of human technology as garbage stung more than any direct insult could have. 3 decades of humanity stretching into the stars, overcoming resource limitations with ingenuity and determination, reduced to a joke by these newcomers. Captain, Toshiro said quietly, standing beside her chair. Those scans they performed. They were thorough but superficial. Meaning? They saw our outdated reactor shielding, but not the modifications we've made to the output systems. They cataloged our external weapon mounts, but not the internal defense grid. Voss nodded slowly, understanding dawning. They saw what they expected to see. Exactly. They've already decided we're primitives using junk technology. A small smile touched his lips. And maybe that perception has advantages. The journey back to Earth was tense but uneventful. The Zithari escorts shadowed them to the edge of what they claimed as their territory, then turned back with a final transmitted message that amounted to "Don't return with your floating scrapyard." Within 24 hours of their return, Captain Voss found herself in a high-security briefing room at Earth Defense Command headquarters. The walls were lined with military and political leaders, all wearing expressions ranging from concern to outright alarm. Admiral Helena Frost, head of Earth's defense fleet, paced before the holoprojection of the Zithari vessel. Their technology appears to be at least 2 centuries ahead of our most advanced systems. If they decided to push beyond their current territory, they would roll right over our defenses, General Santos finished grimly. Our entire fleet couldn't stand against a fraction of theirs if these scans are accurate. They're accurate, Voss confirmed, but incomplete. All eyes turned to her. Explain, Captain, Admiral Frost demanded. The Zithari made one critical error during our encounter. They'd assumed their technology was so superior that they didn't need to look closely. Voss stepped forward, highlighting elements of the Perseverance's design. They saw our outdated reactor housing, but missed the efficiency modifications. They registered our old model weapon mounts but didn't detect the targeting systems integrated into the hull itself. What are you suggesting? Defense Minister Chen asked, leaning forward. I'm suggesting, Minister, that their technological arrogance has created a blind spot. Voss looked around the room, making eye contact with each person. They've dismissed us as primitives flying junk heaps. What if we use that perception against them? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You want to weaponize their prejudice, Admiral Frost said slowly. Exactly. Voss nodded. Right now, we can't match their technology head-on. But we've always been masters of adaptation, of making the most with what we have. What if we created vessels that appear even more ramshackle than the Perseverance, but contain hidden capabilities they won't bother looking for? Defense Minister Chen's eyes narrowed. Trojan horses. Precisely. Voss smiled. They expect junk. Let's give them junk, with a sting they'll never see coming. Over the next 6 months, Operation Trojan took shape in the shipyards orbiting Mars. 5 vessels were selected, all older models slated for decommissioning. Instead of scrapping them, engineers and technicians worked around the clock to transform them while maintaining their weathered, patchwork appearance. Reactor cores were replaced with new models housed in old casings. Cutting-edge weapon systems were disguised as cargo modules and maintenance arrays. Advanced stealth technology was integrated into the existing hull structures, camouflaged as makeshift repairs. The ships were ugly, asymmetrical, and appeared to be held together by little more than welding seams and hope. They were also the most deadly vessels ever created by human hands. Captain Voss walked through the modified bridge of the Perseverance, now the flagship of this unconventional fleet. Where there had once been standard control panels, now holographic interfaces disguised as mechanical readouts provided access to systems the Zithari couldn't imagine. The entire vessel had been rebuilt from the inside out, while carefully preserving its external appearance of a ship long past its prime. Fleet status, she asked, settling into the command chair that now contained more computing power than the entire original bridge. All vessels report ready, Captain, Tashiro replied. The Intrepid, Defiant, Dauntless, and Resolute are in formation and awaiting your orders. Voss nodded, surveying her bridge crew. They had all volunteered for this mission despite knowing the risks. They were outnumbered and venturing into enemy territory, but they carried the element of surprise and the collective ingenuity of humanity. Open fleet-wide channel, she ordered. When the indicator lit, she addressed her small armada. This is Captain Voss. 6 months ago, the Zithari Empire encountered humanity for the first time. They saw our ships and called them junk. They looked at our technology and dismissed it as primitive. They judged us by our appearance and found us wanting. She paused, looking at the determined faces of her bridge crew. Today, we're going to show them the fatal error of underestimating humanity. We may not have their resources or their technology, but we have something they lack: adaptability, innovation, the ability to turn weakness into strength. Her voice hardened. The Zithari believe themselves superior. Our mission is to correct that misconception permanently. The response came back as a chorus of affirmations. Plot course for Zithari territory, Voss commanded. Let's show them what human jump can do. As the 5 patchwork vessels accelerated toward enemy space, they appeared to be exactly what the Zithari had dismissed them as: outdated, inefficient craft barely worthy of notice. It was precisely that perception that would be the Empire's undoing, the impossible victory. The 5 human vessels drifted through Zithari space like cosmic debris, their engines running on minimal power. To any scanning technology, they appeared to be exactly what their exteriors suggested: outdated ships barely maintaining life support, their systems leaking radiation, and their hulls patched so many times they resembled metallic quilts. On the bridge of the Perseverance, Captain Ilara Voss monitored the holographic display disguised as an antiquated radar system. 3 Zithari patrol vessels had passed within sensor range in the last 12 hours, but none had bothered to intercept. Just as they had hoped, the Empire's arrogance was working in their favor. Status report, Voss ordered quietly, as though speaking too loudly might somehow alert the enemy to their true capabilities. We've passed the outer defense perimeter, First Officer Tashiro replied. The fleet remains undetected. Based on the data we're gathering, the Zithari Homeworld is approximately 18 hours ahead at our current speed. And the capital city, located in the northern hemisphere, their central command appears to be concentrated in a single complex. Overconfidence in their defensive capabilities, most likely. Voss nodded, or they've never faced a serious threat this deep in their territory. She studied the projected path that would take them directly to Califar, the Zithari homeworld. Any sign that their internal defense grid is more comprehensive than their border patrols? Negative, Captain. If anything, it's less so. They have automated defense platforms, but they're spaced widely, designed to stop conventional attacks, not junk ships that aren't worth the energy to destroy. A smile tugged at the corner of Voss's mouth. Their greatest strength has become their greatest vulnerability. They're so convinced of their superiority that they can't conceive of a threat from what they consider inferior technology. As they ventured deeper into enemy territory, the truth of this assessment became increasingly clear. The Zithari had built their empire on technological advancement, developing weapons and defenses that could obliterate any conventional attack. But they had never considered that an enemy might disguise advanced technology as primitive, using the Empire's own prejudice as a shield. Captain, Communications Officer Rivera called out, I'm intercepting internal communications from a nearby patrol vessel. They've spotted us, but she listened intently to her earpiece. They're dismissing us as human waste disposal vessels, and not worth intercepting. Laughter rippled through the bridge, quickly stifled as the crew remembered the seriousness of their mission. Their hubris is our ally, Voss remarked. Let's make sure it becomes their downfall. For 18 tense hours, the human fleet continued their approach, moving more slowly than necessary to maintain the illusion of struggling, outdated engines. When the azure sphere of Califar finally appeared before them, with its gleaming orbital stations and elegant defense platforms, Voss felt a moment of doubt. Their plan had gotten them this far, but they were 5 ships against an empire. Then she remembered the contempt in High Commander Zithfar's eyes, the dismissal of humanity's achievements as little more than garbage floating in space, and her resolve hardened. All ships, final systems check, she ordered. Prepare to reveal our true capabilities. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision, activating systems that had remained dormant throughout their journey. Beneath the scared exterior of each vessel, cutting-edge technology hummed to life, power flowing through circuits disguised as outdated wiring. "We are now within range of their primary defense grid," Tashiro reported. "They finally designated us for intercept, but they're sending only 2 vessels, small ones." "Perfect," Voss said. "Let them come. Maintain current speed and trajectory. Weapons systems active but masked. Target locked," the weapons officer announced. "Awaiting your command, Captain." Voss hesitated, looking at the magnificent structure before them. Total destruction wasn't their goal, only the dismantling of the Empire's dangerous arrogance. "Precision strikes only," she ordered. "Disable their communications array and defense systems. Then target the ground-to-orbit batteries surrounding the complex. We want to isolate them, not annihilate them." The human fleet executed the attack with surgical precision. The central spire's upper sections, housing the communications and defense coordination systems, erupted in controlled explosions. The surrounding weapons emplacements went dark as targeted EMP bursts overwhelmed their circuitry. Within 20 minutes, the entire Zithari command structure was effectively cut off from both their orbital defenses and ground forces. "Open a channel to whatever communications they have left," Voss ordered. When the connection was established, she was unsurprised to see High Commander Zithvar on the screen, his scales now pale with shock, and his 3 eyes wide with disbelief. This is impossible," he stammered. "Your vessels are primitive. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "That's what you were meant to think," Voss replied calmly. "You saw the exterior and assumed you knew everything about us. You scanned our ships and saw only what confirmed your prejudice." She leaned forward, her voice hardening. "Humanity doesn't have your resources or your century head start in interstellar technology. What we do have is adaptability, ingenuity, the ability to turn your contempt into our greatest weapon." Zithvar's central eye narrowed. "What are your demands?" "Recognition and respect," Voss stated simply. "The Zithari Empire will acknowledge Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. You will establish diplomatic relations on equal terms, and you will never again mistake appearance for capability." The alien commander was silent for a long moment, the reality of his situation sinking in. 5 supposedly primitive vessels had penetrated every defense of the mighty Zithari Empire and now held their capital hostage. "The Empire accepts your terms," he finally said, the words clearly painful. "A formal surrender will be prepared." "Not surrender," Voss corrected. "A treaty. Between equals." As the communication ended, the bridge of the Perseverance erupted in cheers. Against impossible odds, they had turned perceived weakness into decisive victory. "Orders, Captain?" Tashiro asked when the celebration subsided. Voss gazed at the Zithari capital spread out below them, its citizens likely still trying to comprehend how their supposedly invincible civilization had been brought to heel by ships they had dismissed as junk. "We maintain position until their diplomatic corps arranges for official negotiations," she decided. "And we make sure this lesson isn't forgotten. The next time they encounter a species with technology that looks different from theirs, perhaps they'll look beyond appearance." In the months that followed, the story of 5 junk ships bringing the mighty Zithari Empire to its knees spread throughout the galaxy. The treaty signed between Earth and the Empire became a model for interspecies relations, emphasizing respect for different technological approaches rather than arbitrary standards of advancement. Captain Ilara Voss and her crew were hailed as heroes, not just for their victory, but for changing the paradigm of interstellar diplomacy. The Perseverance, once mocked as a floating scrapyard, became a symbol of human ingenuity, a reminder that true strength lies not in appearances, but in the creative spirit that turns limitations into advantages. And throughout the galaxy, species that had long lived in fear of the Zithari looked to humanity with new respect and hope, learning perhaps the most important lesson of all. Never judge a civilization by the look of its ships, for within even the most unlikely exterior might lie the power to change the stars themselves.